Hi, my name's Ian Hill. I'm the head brewer and distiller here at the Yaletown Distilling Company. We're going to look today a little bit at our process and our ingredients for producing all the various spirits that we make. It all begins in our grain room above the brewery, and the ingredients we start with are 2-row malted barley. This grain comes entirely from this province, from British Columbia. It's very specially selected just for our distillates. We mill those grains. The result is something called grist. It's like a kind of a coarse flour. That grist then has to travel down into the brew house below, where it's mixed with hot water in a big, wide, low vessel called a mash tun. The result is kind of a thick porridge. We can then separate the liquid from those solids. That liquid is called wort. It's actually exactly the same liquid that would normally continue to be processed for beer. The wort then proceeds into the distillery and slowly begin filling 2 1,000-liter fermentation tanks. A little bit of yeast goes into each of those fermentation tanks and begins its life. That liquid is now alcoholic and flavorful. We're then ready to start to try to separate the alcohol and many of those flavors. That separation is at the heart of what the distillation process is all about. As the temperature rises, vapors start evaporating from the surface of it, bringing many of those flavors and also carrying with it the alcohol. In the case of the vodka, we go through that exact process many times. Those vapors are then carried into the next part, the actual condensation part of the distilling process. When we're making our gin, we use 8 different special ingredients. Many of them are actually sourced from the wild, not necessarily cultivated. And the gin really begins with something very much like vodka, a very neutral spirit, to which we add certain flavoring ingredients. Those are the herbs and spices that are very famous for making gin. Those ingredients are juniper berries, coriander seed, angelica roots, orris roots, licorice roots, bitter almonds, grains of paradise, and lemon rind. All right, so now we're ready to taste. We'll start with the vodka. There's a lot that makes this vodka very unique. You know, it's often the case that we talk about vodka being very neutral and having little flavor. It is important to have, you know, a certain amount of neutrality. It's good for blending and making cocktails, but really we're looking for, you know, just a little bit more flavor, some edges to it. Something that make you, you know, kind of wake up when you taste it and maybe think about the process that we've described, think about the ingredients we've looked at. These things all together make our vodka very unique. Let's have a little taste. This is something I'm very proud of, something I've worked hard to finish. We're smelling rich, sort of fruity flavors. You're noticing a bit of a kind of a caramel nose to it. For sure, that's the responsibility of the malt that's used. It's a little bit reminiscent of old Eastern European vodkas. Polish vodkas, Russian vodkas. It's really lovely. We should taste our gin. 2 things that really come through in the product, the bitter almonds and the licorice root. The licorice root's responsible for quite a bit of sweetness up front. The bitter almonds, for sure, a powerful bitterness in the end. Together, that sweetness and that bitterness balance and ultimately make it very refreshing. It makes a wicked gin and tonic. You can drink this gin neat, just as it is. It's hard not to keep drinking this. You have to be careful, but it's hard.